In case you missed it, here's Dave and Cheryl's favorite moments of the week. And now, it's time to put some good in your morning. The good news brought to you by Almar Home Improvements. 519-351-5666.
Well, last month, a woman in Denver lost the engagement ring her fiancé had given her before he passed away. Needless to say, she was devastated. But luckily, some dude found it in the mud. Literally, his first name is Dude, by the way.
He's a bartender, and he gave the ring back and refused to take reward because he actually works at the place where that was her fiancé's favorite bar. Now, they never actually met, but he just hopes that they can be lifelong friends now.
I was getting ready to go to my third job. Go into my car and I just happened to look down. Temptations was to go pawn it or to find a jeweler, tell me more about it. But really, my faith told me just to hold on to it and just wait and listen.
We've been together 10 years and had waited 10 years to get engaged.
And when they were talking about her losing a ring, I was like, all right.
There was the ring. And I, immediately was in tears. I couldn't believe it. Definitely kind of reconnected me again with my fiance. It just restores my faith in good people.
Well, and I hope, as he said, there was that temptation. Do I just take it and pawn it and get the money? Mm-hmm. I hope he gets rewarded for that good karma.
Yeah, well, he said he didn't. They offered him a reward, if I can say the word, and he said, no, I just don't want a reward. I just wanted to do the right thing.
This second story really shows the impact of what one amazing teacher can do.
There's this guy in Sacramento. His name is Jamil, and he came to the U.S. when he was a kid. Didn't speak or read any English, but his second grade teacher somehow taught him to read and write in just 1 year. So for the last 2 decades, he's now been trying to track her down to say thanks. All he knew was that her name was Mrs. Lung. Didn't know her first name, but he wrote an article all about it for a website called LitHub. And her husband just happened to see it. So they finally were able to connect over the phone. Unfortunately, it was during the pandemic, so they couldn't actually get together. But they were able to meet up in person because he's now a published author. She said because of her, he fell in love with reading and writing, and he's now an author. His most recent book came out in July, and she surprised him at the book signing.
So it really does go to show for teachers, if you're feeling right now a little heavy, think about the kind of influence you can have on that one student that might turn into something lifelong.
Yum, science. It's not rocket science. Check it out. I blinded us with science.
Well, this first story could be pretty amazing if they're able to put it all together. A non-invasive way to screen for strokes might be coming to your smartphone.
So the scientist and his team were able to look at smartphone video footage and find narrowed arteries in the neck of people. So apparently changes in speed and pattern in blood flow and then the narrowing of the arteries can be detected using motion magnification. And I was thinking it was originally because, smartphone cameras have gotten so much better now. But they actually did this using an iPhone 6.
Isn't that
And they're up to 13 or 14 now? So they were able to analyze the video recorded on a smartphone and then magnify in on it. And they say it's a very non-invasive, easy to perform. You just have to send your doctor a 30-second video.
Amazing. Footage of a wild rainbow cloud in China has gone viral. If you haven't seen it, it almost looks fake, but it's not. So here's the science behind it. It's a type of what they call a scarf cloud. So basically a wispy cloud forms above a cumulus cloud. Then light gets diffracted by tiny ice crystals inside of it. That's what causes the rainbow effect. Should have paid more attention in science class, I think. In this case, the sun was setting right behind it, so it created that entire...
The light's refracting, but it makes the rainbow through the rain or through the moisture.
And this incredible portrait right there in the sky.
It's crazy. Hey, if you ever find yourself exhausted after, writing a test or maybe trying to play along with an episode of Jeopardy, apparently you're tired from thinking too hard. And the science backs that up now. So researchers in France have found that when a brain performs intense cognitive work, typically for a few hours or longer, potentially toxic byproducts are actually building up in your prefrontal cortex. And that causes cognitive fatigue. So if you think you're poisoning your brain, well, kind of. The buildup can influence how people are making decisions, steering you towards low energy actions that may deliver rewards with no effort or waiting. So you're taking the easy route.
Hey, you've done all this hard work. Do you want to just sit around instead of going out? Yes, I do.
But your brain is kind of signaling to your body that it wants you to slow down to preserve the integrity of your brain function. It's sort of... There's no way to sort of like hack around it, though. But, the best thing to do is it's like your body telling you to rest.
Take a break.
Take a break. Maybe take a nap.
Or take a walk around at least. And to make a very modern reference, Fonz from Happy Days, remember when you used to hit the jukebox?
Hey.
And it would get started again?
Yes.
Well, you may have been onto something, because believe it or not, there's actually science behind why sometimes the best way to fix your electronics is by smacking them. Probably bad news for you, because sometimes you get a little angry when
usually
slow.
I hit the enter button like 74 times.
It's called percussive maintenance. So that's what you can tell people from now on. Oh, I'm not angry at my computer. It's just a little percussive maintenance. It's a term for shaking, banging on, or pounding something to make it work. And it works especially well for products that have batteries or older electronics that have parts that might become slightly out of line. But if you're going to try to fix things this way, tap them. Don't hit them, because if you hit something too hard or you hit a device that's too fragile, you risk breaking it. And that maintenance, they say, is temporary at best. When a device is in the I need to hit it to make it work stage, probably needs an actual professional fix, or at least new batteries.
Well, I was just thinking about, I've got some stuff around the house where I think the connection's gotten loose, or maybe the solder connection has, worn out over time, because that happens.
Oh, it happens with us, too. And let's face it, we get worn out.
Well, we'll go back to that first story, right?
Get worn out.
We got that potential toxic byproduct in our brain. We just need to flush it out.
We all do this with the TV remote, though, right? Your batteries are running low. Do you change them? No, you just start pressing the buttons just a bit harder. So here's a fun question. Even if you're not a baseball fan, Yankees slugger Aaron Judge has been chasing Roger Maris's record of 61 home runs. Pujols just hit his 700th the other day. So if you were at a game and caught a big home run ball like that, what would you do in that situation?
Would you keep the ball? Would you give it back? Would you keep it to negotiate a better pot of prizes from the team? Well, a writer for Yahoo Sports just did a big article on a 20-year-old Yankees fan who actually caught Judge's 60th home run ball, and he gave it back. But he did get some cool stuff in return, an autographed bat. But Sotheby's says he could have sold that ball for $100,000.
Now, the article talks about how fans get shamed if they decide to keep a ball like that. And that's exactly what happened with the fan who caught Albert's 700th on Friday, left the stadium with it. So who made the right call? Well, I guess it really depends on if you're a massive fan of that team, I guess.
But there is one online article, which I found really interesting. It said, quote, "In no other circumstances is an American who legally and rightfully stumbles upon a six-figure plus payday expected to just give it up. Except in sports. When these athletes, like I'm thinking about Pujols, how many millions has he made in his career, right? He's announced that he's retiring after this season.
I mean, he's earned it. I mean, if you look at it that way, they give him a fair contract.
But he can afford to, I don't know, give you some cash in exchange for the ball?
Now, if Judge does get 62 home runs this year, a lot of experts say that ball could be well worth over $1 million. And they're in Toronto right now. He didn't hit any last night.
No.
It looked like in left field someone had bought an entire section because there was only one guy in one section. And some people were speculating it was this baseball collector who's got over 12,000 balls apparently in his collection. Well,
here's the thing I was thinking, though, because in Toronto, the bullpens are out in the outfield. So there's like a 10-meter gap there first before you ever get to the stands. So I feel like there's a 75% chance that unless he absolutely clobbers the ball, it's going to land in the bullpen anyway.
So what would you do? I'd keep it and sell it. I wouldn't even think twice.
No.
I
would keep it to negotiate what I would deem a, equitable exchange of goods and services and money.
Let me rephrase. I would negotiate with said player, especially when you know it's a player that's making bank and he's going to make even a bigger contract because he's a free agent after this season. So I would say, okay, well, if they're saying it's worth $1 million, give me $500,000. I don't think that's unreasonable for a guy that's making and going to make probably $30 million a year. as of next year.
He'll probably be the highest paid player in
of
baseball.
all time.
Yeah.
So I don't think that's unreasonable to say, give me half market value. I don't care about hats and bats and things like that. Give me the Benjis, or in this case in Canada, the Bordens, if he gets out in Toronto.
Now, it's time to put some good in your morning. The good news brought to you by Almar Home Improvements. 519-351-5666.
And we've got a local good news story for you today, and a story this family will be able to tell forever.
Yeah, the Bonners from Thamesville were on their way to the hospital to give birth, but the baby didn't want to wait. Dan Bonner said he had to jump into action to deliver his baby girl on Friday when his wife Claire gave birth to their fourth child on the side of the road. He said it was not as difficult as he anticipated, but he said he'll never forget the moment.
I keep flashing back like, no, I didn't dream that. I delivered the child on the side of the road. It was standing there beside a cornfield outside of Louisville, just looking around, dazed, in shock. Is this really happening? Did this happen?
So he delivered the baby on the side of the road. Paramedics showed up a few minutes later, although he said it felt like an eternity waiting for them to arrive.
I bet.
Because you're like holding debate. You're like, what do I do now with this?
Well, when he said just now about how, looking around dazed and confused, part of me was thinking, the dad or the baby? Because the baby came out, where am I right now? I'm supposed to be in the hospital. And he said he was frightened at first, as you can imagine, because, you've never been trained for that kind of thing. You don't know how to react, but he jumped into action. So everyone's doing okay. He said Claire and the baby are doing great, adding that mom was too exhausted to really take part in too many, interviews and things afterwards.
Oh,
too.
I don't blame her. She's probably like, I just want to take a minute because I can't believe we had to do that.
Just amazing. And in that moment, congratulations to that family. I mean, never had experienced anything like that. When my second child was born, we hadn't talked about this. She came into the world pretty quickly. And the doctor handed me the scissors. And he goes, cut the cord. And I was standing there, I think, looking at the scissors, looking at me, looking at him, looking at the scissors. He goes, cut the cord. Okay, because he was holding the cord up, right? Like he had it kind of pinched off. And we hadn't talked about that at all. So that was a little weird. So I can only imagine.
No wonder you were thrown off. You weren't expecting it.
Not in the least. So congratulations to the Bonner family. Glad that everyone is safe and sound. Well, I've seen a few of these videos on social media lately, but boaters off the BC coast were shocked when a sea lion jumped on board.
Yeah, this couple had turned off their boat's engine when they noticed killer whales were in the area. When suddenly a sea lion, who was probably attempting to escape being hunted by said killer whales, jumped in and nearly capsized their boat. Apparently, water just started pouring in, and they said, I was just hoping we wouldn't totally tip over. The sea lion weighed about 800 pounds, in case you were wondering why. The boat almost sunk, but unfortunately, the boat did not flip over, and the two people on board were fine.
And I think the sea lion, too. So yeah. I don't even think the sea lion had a bad day. I've seen other ones where smaller seals jump up on the back of people's boats before. But, man, that's a massive, massive animal. Hey, a cow by the name of Vinvania escaped from a farm and has been wandering around New York's Long Island for about 3 weeks.
And so far, even though she weighs 750 pounds, she's managed to evade being captured. There have been a number of sightings of her around a golf and country club there, which is no surprise because she's so big. But animal rescue workers are still trying to catch her, and they're building her a new home at an animal sanctuary in New Jersey to take her to, but they got to catch her first.
You'd think it'd be easy enough to catch a cow that's 750 pounds.
But I don't know. How many cowboys hang out on the Long Island in New York?
And on a golf course on top of it, too. So
they probably don't want you want a horse trying to wrangle the cow.
And meanwhile, the people on the golf course are like, I'll just play through. Just leave the cow there. Hey, German customs officials say a trail of slime led them to a stash of almost 100 giant African land snails and other items that were hidden inside some bags at an airport. Now, in a statement, the officials say they stumbled over one of the snails on a baggage truck and initially thought it was a toy until it started moving.
Oh, my God. It's so big.
Yeah.
You thought it was fake.
So they actually followed the trail left by the 20-centimeter snail. Wow, that's huge. And they found a bag with a hole and another snail already peeping out, possibly going for its own dash for freedom.
They were hungry and just like, nom, nom, nom.
In total, officials found 6 bags containing 93 giant snails, 28 kilograms of fish and smoked meat, and a suitcase full of rotting meat.
Ew.
All had been imported from Nigeria and were headed for a store in Western Germany. The snails were handed over to an animal rescue, and the meat was destroyed. And they said, I love this quote, "Never in the history of Dusseldorf's customs office has a trail of slime led us to smuggle goods." But they were able to track down all of this stuff. Thanks to this, trail of slime.
It's a trail of slime from giant slugs.
I'm just trying to get over that. They're 20 centimeters or 8 inches.
That's huge.
A whole lot of snail right there. They put the garbage out.
Okay.
Rolled it down the road. And then got up, I don't know, around midnight or so. Had to go to the bathroom. Got back in bed and I was like, oh, I think I threw something out. Oh, I'm going to have to go through the garbage. So 3 a.m, after I got up, wandered down the driveway and... my pajamas basically. And
going through your toter bed.
Had to grab the bag out, pull it out, because I bought a Lotto Max ticket. See how crumpled it is? So I bought it at a grocery store.
Uh-huh.
And I normally don't buy lottery there. I thought, I'll buy that. And
but you were there, so,
And it's a short line, right? So I'm just like, okay, I'll do that. Well, when the lady went to get the receipt out of the register, it was kind of caught there. So she had the ticket in her hand. She kind of pulled it. And then she put both in the bag. And the lies we tell ourselves. Oh,
I'll remember to pull it out.
I'll take that out in the car. When I get home, I'll take it out. Nope. So the garbage bag it was kind of ripped anyway. So I was like, I'll just throw it out. Crumpled up the garbage bag, threw it out. And then I was like, it's garbage day tomorrow. The garbage is like 2/3 full. I'll get rid of it. And then I thought about it. Thankfully.
You always remember it at midnight when you're going to the bathroom.
Well, then I was thinking, I don't want to be that person that's got a $70 million ticket. Well, where's the ticket? Now it's in the landfill of Chatham-Kent, and I have to go dig through garbage bags. So, I haven't scanned it yet. Let's see what happens.
I thought you were gonna do your Tim Hortons thing where you don't roll up the rim the whole way.
Better luck next time. Well, there you go. I should have stayed in the garbage.
You got your volume turned on your phone. We don't even get that. You would have got that.
Gagnon. No, I didn't get nothing. So it should have just stayed right where it was.
Well, I thought about stopping to buy one yesterday, and then I was like, I'm pretty sure I made an account because you can now buy the tickets online through an account. Yeah, there's a whole verification thing that goes with it. But then that way, Dave, you don't have to worry about accidentally throwing your ticket in the garbage. It's on the app.
Oh, I know that. I understand the logic behind it. But I also like physically having the ticket when it's, not in the garbage. So... Look at that. I didn't win a thing. So I don't know if anyone won.
So you went through the garbage for nothing at 3 a.m. Mm-hmm. That's what you're saying.
And there's probably video of me going up and down the driveway on our, one of the cams we've got.
Security cameras? Oh, man.
And my wife gets those alerts. So she must have been getting up this morning going, why was that fool looking through the garbage at 3 a.m? So there's something in life you might have learned a little bit too late that for years you believed was a thing, and then we were like, wait, no, that isn't something?
Yeah, like something you believed when you were a child, but then no one ever corrected you. BuzzFeed actually compiled a list together of things that people said that they learned about embarrassingly late. This first one's great. Someone said, I thought lions and tigers were the same animal. And that lions were the boys and tigers were the girls. And they believed this throughout their teenage years.
Nobody corrected them.
No.
They just never learned it. I didn't know you make pasta with flour and water. I thought you grew noodles on trees.
Well, wasn't there that big April Fool's prank years ago where they said the spaghetti harvest and they had spaghetti noodles up in trees in Italy and people believed it?
That's fantastic.
Someone else said, when I was in my 20s, I learned that water polo wasn't actually played on swimming horses. I was embarrassed, but also disappointed.
I just learned that local anesthetic does not mean it was made in a lab nearby. I thought you wanted it local, like local honey.
You
Better
could request
for you.
a locally made anesthetic. Someone else said, for the longest time, I didn't understand why you would go to a mechanic to get your wheels rotated. They rotate all the time when you're driving.
How does this make sense? I thought billboards that said available and had a phone number listed ads were for single people. No, don't be calling for that.
Someone else said that they didn't realize until they were in high school that the not tested on animal label on a product was about animal cruelty and not whether the makeup or lotion would actually work on like a dog.
Because why wouldn't you want to put makeup on your dog?
Not tested on animals. Like, so I shouldn't put this on my dog, the eyeshadow?
How about this? I was in my 20s when I realized that the Mile High Club didn't mean getting stoned on an airplane. It's something altogether different. Do you recall anything from when you were younger?
I was trying to think about this beforehand. I couldn't think of anything off the top of my head, though, so...
I've got a couple for you.
Okay.
I literally believe, because we grew up near Timmins, okay? So, in the country, though, between Timmins and Iroquois Falls. So, once a week, we would drive into Timmins because shopping, and my sister lived there as she got a little bit older. And so my dad used to listen to radio in the car, and the route would take us by one of the local radio stations there, which I eventually did end up working at, ironically enough. But when I was a kid, I literally remember thinking, man, that place must be huge if there's like all these musicians in there and artists coming in.
We thought it was all live?
I was pretty young.
Like the music was live, not just the announcers.
I think I was about 5 or 6 years old, but I do remember having that thought in the back seat as we drove by it. Wow, that must be massive in there. My little brain thought that they were all in there, not that there was, records.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then one of our children, I don't want to call them out, but although they deny this now.
So you have 3, so I'll see if I can figure out which one it is.
One of them, I swear, thought that cheese came from like fields. Like you would harvest cheese. That it didn't come through another process involving cows and milk and all that. No. And then they swear, no, I was just joking. Then that person was pretty young.
You know what, though? I've seen people on TikTok, because this around here, right? When they have bales, and then they'll come and they'll wrap it in like that white, like plastic wrap as a way to try to like keep it throughout the winter. And people were like, oh, it's the marshmallow harvest. And people actually believed it. They thought that was a marshmallow, and that's how marshmallows are made, and then you could scrape it down to small marshmallows.
Because they put that big white
It was a big one, and then you would chop it down into the smaller marshmallows.
Well, wasn't there a phrase or something about fooling the people? You fool half the people half the time. Pretty accurate, I think, for many of us. Well, we've got a couple of law and disorder stories today, and for any parent, this would be your worst nightmare in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and in this case, the law and disorder is more like a case of accidental law and disorder. This woman is going viral because she recently shared a story about how she accidentally kidnapped a child. Her name is Brianna, and a few years ago, she volunteered to help a friend out and said, yeah, I'll go pick up your daughter from daycare. I think she got stuck at work late, couldn't get out. So she's like, yeah, I'll go pick her up. I'll bring her to your house and watch her and an older sibling for a little while. So due to a series of unfortunate events, though, they gave her the wrong kid because she, I think, hadn't seen this child in a while, so wasn't quite sure what they looked like. And when she got to the house, started making a snack for the child, the older sibling came in and was like, yeah, that's not my sister.
Oh, man.
And she thought it was a joke at first, but the sibling was serious. So she grabbed her phone to make a call. Turns out she had a bunch of texts from the mom saying, yeah, you picked up the wrong kid, and I know because the cops called me wondering what was going on. So she immediately loaded the kids up and took them back to daycare. The girl's parents of the girl that she accidentally took were there, and they were not happy. And needless to say, apparently the daycare workers got fired over the entire incident.
So not a lot of details in general about the age, but it sounds like the kid was young enough that they were still in a car seat.
Yeah.
So
if you're picking up a kid usually from like a full day daycare, they're probably still
maybe 2
in a car seat or at least a booster seat.
Maybe not old enough to talk and say, hey, you're not my mommy.
Well, and from the sounds of it too, like the mom had called the daycare, told them, hey, my friend so-and-so is coming to pick up my child for me tonight because I can't make it. Had it all cleared. And so I would say, yeah, it is on the daycare workers who gave the wrong child out.
She had to do a few interviews, but got off without any repercussions since it was entirely an accident. Wow. Now, if you're a thief, you'd think you'd have a vehicle in working order, right? Taillights, headlights, tank full of gas. You don't really want to run out of gas anywhere, but especially not right in front of the police station. 52-year-old guy in New York, his name is Harold, ran out of gas in front of one sheriff's office. The police asked if he was okay. He said he was waiting on a friend to bring him some gas. The cops must have been suspicious because they decided to run his info. Found out that he had a revoked license and the truck was unregistered and had switched plates.
Oh.
So a lot of times that might indicate that it was a stolen vehicle. Police were alerted that Harold was also wanted for stealing around $2,000 worth of metal from the Department of Transportation yard nearby.
Was it in the car, too? That would have been hysterical.
Not sure about that, but he's been charged with multiple different things. He was denied bail because he has 5 previous felony convictions. You're running out of gas in front of the police station. That really is life telling you, you need to go on a different path, brother.
If you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
You've been listening to Dave and Cheryl's favorite moments of the week.